Hello and welcome to another Streaming 101 webinar. My name is Phil Thompson. I'm with Steve Lacy here. We are so glad that you are spending a little bit of time with us today. This is a webinar designed to help you get started with streaming video, and we're calling it Streaming 101 because we're going to go over the basics of streaming. We will also give you an opportunity to ask some questions here towards the end. Although, if we're on kind of a relative topic, you can certainly ask some questions. Here's how you do this. There's a little chat bubble. You probably have a little green bubble up towards the top of your screen, and you can just click on that and you can ask questions there. And we might get to it right away, depending on the topic we're on, or we might wait to the end of this webinar to answer your questions, but we'll try to answer all your questions. So feel free to shoot them our way. So this is Streaming 101, and I think we'll just go ahead and begin. And the first thing I want to do is introduce our president, our CEO. His name is Steve Lacy.
Hello.
Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the webinar.
So I am Steve Lacy. I'm the founder of StreamingChurch.tv. I've been involved with technology. Actually, I'm a degreed engineer and been involved with ministry and technology for the majority of my life. So,
yes, you have.
Yes, we started with some cloud-based systems back in 2001 and introduced Streaming Church in 2009.
Yeah, and and doing a lot of streaming video at your own church as well. So you have a lot of experience in that. You might want to mute your computer there, you get a little echo. So very quickly, I'm Phil Thompson. I'm actually Executive Director of JSL Solutions, and I have been involved in ministry since the late 1970s and also Christian broadcasting at about that same time. So I've kind of had my foot in church work as well as Christian radio, helped start a couple Christian radio stations in Tucson, Arizona, been involved in streaming video since about 2009 or so, and was a web pastor for a while, church online pastor, and executive pastor, senior pastor. I've made the whole loop.
Yes, you've done it all.
Done a lot of ministry, and we're glad to have you with it. Very quickly, before we begin, we do have a podcast. It's called Church Solutions Podcast. You can find it on iTunes or any, as you like to say, any place that you get your podcast, right?
It's your favorite podcast player. Just search for Church Solutions.
All right. So without further ado, let's talk about streaming video this morning. And it's morning our time. We're in Tucson, Arizona. First of all, why streaming video? Steve, very quickly, why should we even consider doing streaming video for our church?
Well, one of the things, it extends your reach. Churches are here. We're here to reach the community, and it extends your reach beyond your four walls. One of the other things, it's really a very good way for people to check out your church and experience your church prior to walking through the doors.
I like to say it creates windows, so to speak, for the public, people who don't come to your church but are maybe in the area. They get a chance to see, your music style, your preaching style, your message style. You get a good chance to get a feel for your church, the culture of your church, by watching streaming video.
The majority of the people that join our church are first finding us online, and they're first attending online. Yeah. So they're coming online for a few weeks, and then they decide, yep, this looks like a good fit for us. We're going to go walk through the doors.
Streaming video really can help you grow your church, helps you connect with people who maybe can't come to church, shut-ins and all those things. But let's now get into a little bit about what you really need to do if you want to do streaming video. So on your screen here, you'll notice a little graphic. Hopefully you can see some of it, but the basics of streaming video, and this is the Basics 101 here. You need at least one camera. You'll need some kind of a video adapter, or what we call video capture card. We'll get into all this later. Obviously, you need at least a computer, and you need healthy internet.
Yes.
To do so. It's really pretty simple, and over the years here, the cost of this has all kind of gone down. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty reasonable as far as price-wise goes. And we'll talk a little bit about what you need as far as budget and all that later.
Yeah, you need a streaming server, a streaming provider.
That's right. I forgot about that.
You need one of those.
That's an important thing. You need a content delivery network. We obviously, if you heard us at the top of the webinar here, we are with StreamingChurch.tv, and we are a CDN, so to speak. We provide that. But again, you definitely need some kind of a server to do that that's going to handle large loads.
Right.
All right, so we'll get into more of this here in detail, but one of the things I have put up here on the slide, it may be difficult to see, but we put it up here because it's very important, and it's, of course, internet upload speed.
Yes. A lot of people say, well, I'm paying for a really good internet and my download is this, and the key is the download really doesn't matter. It's your ability to upload your service to your streaming provider. So the upload scores are important. You're going to want to have at least a megabit per second upload. And the other thing that's important is what we call quality of service, and not all of the speed test tools offer this, but it's how consistently do I get that upload. So if I get 5 megabits per second, but I only get that 20% of the time, then I'm going to have a hard time broadcasting if things drop below. So.
And the internet does fluctuate a little bit, so you need plenty of headroom, which, if you're going to do streaming video, you need some extra internet, so to speak, upload speed, because it does fluctuate.
Yes.
And if a lot of people get on your internet at your church, your internet can I call it atrophy. It shrinks because more and more people get on it. So there's different ways to do that. We can talk about that later. But if you have questions, as I said at the very beginning of this webinar, there's a little chat bubble towards the top of your screen. Just click on that little chat bubble and you can ask us questions. We'll try to answer those either right away or at the end.
And this is we'll get complaints occasionally, people having some problems, and as we mentioned, probably 99% of the time, the issue is related to their internet upload connection. Yeah,
so that internet upload is very important. Let's move on a little bit here and let's talk a little bit about computers. So for streaming video, most people are going to use a computer. They're going to download a live encoder, although you're not limited to that. But let's talk for a moment about computers. What kind of a computer do people need to do streaming video?
So for 101, for just getting started, you can use just about any computer you have available. It's going to need to be kind of virus-free and a healthy computer.
Yes.
But if you're encoding a single stream and uploading it, it's not a lot of work for that computer. Now, if you're doing things, sending up a high-definition signal or sending up multiple streams, you're going to need a computer that's going to be able to handle some more. So pretty much just a rule of thumb, any computer, mid-range computer purchased in the past 3 to 5 years should work fine for you.
Yeah, and the key word is being healthy. Of course, this applies to Macs as well as PCs.
Right.
And again, basic 101, you don't need a whole lot of horsepower, but if you do a little bit more, then you will definitely need a little more computer stuff. Let's move on here a little bit. I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit because obviously you're going to need a computer, you're going to need a camera, but what most people don't quite understand if you've never done streaming video is in most cases, you cannot just plug your camera directly into your computer. The only exception is if you're going to do streaming with like a webcam or a video cam, then you could do that. But honestly, if you're going to use a webcam, you're limited because usually you don't have zoom, you don't have
right.
the abilities that a regular lens would give you.
And the mistake a lot of people make is, well, why not? I've got the USB connector on my camera, and I've also got an HDMI connector on my camera, and I got both of those on my computer. Yeah, why not? Plug those things in; they fit, right? So,
right, they fit. But the problem is the HDMI on your computer is output,
yes,
only, and in USB, you've got to have a device that takes that signal and kind of, how would you say that? Transfers the signal, changes the signals, encodes it, so to speak.
Yes.
So that the live encoder, which is what you've got to have to connect to servers, that live encoder has to recognize the camera.
Right.
And it's not going to do that without a video capture card or a video capture device. So what you see on the screen here is one of the, there's lots of different ones out there, and we can certainly help you with any of this stuff later, but this is a Magwell USB capture, and so you have, like if you have a camera that has HDMI coming out, you plug it into one end, and then on the other end, it goes into your computer via either USB 2.0 or USB 3.0. Obviously, USB 3.0 is faster, and that's a more desirable port to use to do streaming video. You can get away with using USB 2.0, but it doesn't process as fast. It creates more labor on your computer, and you could have some buffering, and you could have some hangups. So this is a video capture device. It retails for around, what, $300.
Right.
So it's not the cheapest thing in the world, but it works pretty well. Let me give you a shot of another video capture device. This is the Blackmagic Intensity Shuttle. Now, Blackmagic has been out there for a long time. It's got a popular name. To be honest with you, we're not real crazy about the Blackmagic products. But this particular one, if you have like a Mac and you have Thunderbolt on your Mac, you could plug your device into. Let me flip slides here to give you a little bit of a better understanding. Or you could plug into one end of the Blackmagic Intensity Shuttle, and then the other end you could come out and go into your Mac, or if you have a PC with Thunderbolt,
right,
plug it into there. Thunderbolt's a good connection. It's fast.
Right.
Right. And so there's lots of different connections usually on your camera. HDMI is pretty obvious, but there's also composite usually. A lot of cameras have, and composite's usually SDI.
And so for getting back to the, mentioned the HD signal. If you're going to do the HD signal, you're probably going to want a computer that has USB 3.0 or the Thunderbolt port on it. Exactly. So that may lead you to a little newer computer.
Yeah, but if you want to, and these things are around $300, but the next one here is a very common, what's referred to in a lot of the circles. If you do a search, VHS to USB. This is a device called, we happen to have it on here, called the Elgato Video Capture Card. So on many of your cameras, you have composite coming out. You have an option for composite, and that's the red, white, and yellow. RCA is another term for it.
Right.
You can plug your camera into this on one end. On the other end, it goes into your USB 2.0. And again, this is not the ideal way to do it, but it can work. We don't recommend it, but if you're on a budget, this device costs around $95, but there are devices like this that are much cheaper, that go all the way down to 60, 50, 40.
Right.
And again, it's something, if you're in a pickle, if you're budget and you want to just try some things out, this could be an option for you.
Good way to get started.
You can get started with it. We don't recommend it, but it is an option.
Right.
So hopefully that helps a little bit. All right, so let's talk about the camera. So you have the video capture device or a card, which we didn't really talk about the card that you could get that inserts into your computer. But this is the camera. So you have computer, video capture device, and here's your camera. So there's lots of cameras. So here's the question we get a lot, Steve. What kind of camera should I get for streaming video?
Right. So we have some recommendations, but a lot of times it's like when someone would ask you off the street, which car should I buy? And you're going to want to find out what the budget is and their needs are and where they what their vision is for the streaming, that sort of thing. So that will dictate which car you would recommend, and also dictates which camera you would recommend. Yeah. So there's a variety of cameras. There's some middle of the road cameras that we like, that we're going to, I think, talk about here later. These are a couple that we've shown. This is a Canon prosumer GL2, and one of the things that we've found is that you can buy these cameras, these high-end prosumer level cameras, used at very affordable prices.
Yes, you can, and a lot of times there's other churches maybe in your area that maybe are upgrading their equipment, and they may sell off these cameras, look on Craigslist or maybe even eBay, and you can possibly get some of these used. And many times, if they've been on a tripod the whole time or been on some kind of a mount, they can be in pretty good shape.
Yes, exactly.
And so you can get them for very reasonable. I think we bought one at my church one time for $400. And so there's options out there for you. So you don't have to buy the biggest and the brand new deal.
Right. And our rule of thumb is that the better your lighting and the closer you can get to your subject, the less you need to spend on a camera. So you can have a really good stream with a lower quality camera if you've got really good lighting and you're able to get fairly close.
Yeah, that's correct. Here's something. This is a camera that, in fact, I don't know if this was yours, but it's just like yours. Years ago, when you first started to do streaming at your church, you used a camera very similar to this, didn't
Yes,
you?
and this is actually a very old camcorder now that didn't even have HDMI out. So you can get started with some lower level cameras. There's a mid-range camera that we like that I actually own, which is the Canon G20, I believe it's called.
Very small,
It's
fits in the palm of your hand, doesn't it?
Yes, it's a very small. It's a Vidia.
Okay.
For some reason, we should have it on the slide here. I mean, it's the name, the model numbers. It's a Canon Vidia.
We'll need to get a picture
G20.
of it, put it on here for future webinars. But the point being is, you can do a lot with, especially some of these newer consumer grade camcorders. Some of them are very nice, and so you can put on a tripod, and actually they work pretty well.
Yeah,
so
a great picture.
There's a lot of options when it comes to camera. And again, as Steve said at the beginning, it really depends on your budget and on your needs and those kind of things as well. All right, so why don't we move on here a little bit? And by the way, if you saw that last slide, you noticed the camera is plugged into a video capture device and in the computer.
Right.
So, all right, so let's talk about live encoders, because this is very important. Live encoders, this is what kind of does the magic, so to speak. This is what gets you online. Live encoders, and there are several live encoders to choose from. The one you're looking at right now is called the Flash Media Live Encoder. It's made by Adobe Flash Media Live Encoder. It's been around for a long time. Steve, very quickly, tell us briefly a little bit of live encoder.
So it's one of the nice things, one of the chief advantages of this is it's available on Mac and PC, and it is free. So it is a free download from Adobe. One of the main disadvantages is it's getting a little long in the tooth. It's somewhat dated. It hasn't been updated for several years now, and Adobe's not planning on updating it.
It is free. You can download it in a matter of just a couple minutes, and you get your credentials. If you're, the company you're going to choose to stream with, like us, we would give you credentials for that, help you set it up, and it really takes a matter of just a very short period of time to stream with it. However, this is only good for one camera. You can't use multiple cameras. You could if you have a video switcher, which we'll get to in a moment or so. Video switchers usually are not very cheap. But if you just want to use one camera, this certainly there's nothing wrong with this. It works. It's pretty hardy. Yeah.
And one of the other issues you may run into is if you're going to be feeding an HD video signal to this, it often has a hard time with the HD signals.
Yeah, the high definition, it just can't process it well, and it really has problems with that. And we'll get into this maybe later, but you can do a very good job doing standard definition streaming if your lighting is good, if your camera where your camera is placed and all that stuff. Standard definition streaming is not a terrible way to go, and the big thing today is high definition, and that's good, but also keep in mind that a lot of people watching your streaming now are watching on mobile devices, some of them small phones, and so standard definition can be okay, and you could certainly start out using standard definition. Nothing wrong with that. If you want to upgrade later, you can. All right, let's move on to a different live encoder. This is called Wirecast, and this is an upgrade, a significant upgrade from the Flash Media Live Encoder. This is like it's got its own little built-in little studio almost.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about Wirecast.
So Wirecast is from a company called Telestream. They've been in the business for quite a while. So as you mentioned, it's got its own little production studio. So it's got video switcher capability. It's got the ability to switch and play recorded videos or put up images. You can do picture-in-picture kind of things. You can put up lower thirds so that, it's kind of like what you would see on television when the newscast comes on. You can put up those sort of things. You can put up worship lyrics and that sort of thing. So it's a very powerful device. It's Mac and PC compatible.
Yes.
Probably its only drawback is that it's pretty expensive.
Well, it can be. It depends on your budget. I mean, they do have a demo version you can download. Again, it just takes a minute or so. The demo version you can play with. It has a little watermark that says Wirecast on it, and there's I think a little voice that pops in every 30 seconds or so saying this is Wirecast. But you can certainly play with it, and then if you want to actually buy it, it's $500. There's even a higher upgrade that's around $1,000, but I don't see any reason why you would need that per se. But the $500 one, and again, I mean, in the scheme of things, it's, I think, a good investment. Nothing wrong with it. It's very solid. It's
my church uses Wirecast.
Yeah,
it has been for quite a while.
And
the Saturday evening services Wirecast guy.
Yeah, there you go. Let's talk about a different live encoder, though, that may appeal to a lot of people, because in some ways it has a lot of the same features as Wirecast, but it is a little more reasonable.
Yes. So this is vMix, and it pretty much is a primary competitor to Wirecast. So I would think almost all the features you're going to see on Wirecast you're going to find here on vMix. One constraint here is it's PC only, though.
Yeah.
So they don't have a Mac version. The other really nice thing is they have a free version that doesn't have watermarks, but it will constrain the quality of your signal.
Resolution, I think.
Yeah, resolution. But for a mere $60, you can get into an HD stream with all the capabilities.
That's a great deal, too. And it's vMix. You can just go to vmix.com, VMIX.com. And I think these guys are based out of Australia. And customer service isn't bad either. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And so we recommend vMix. And we're a preset, and this is probably another subject, but our company's a preset on vMix as well as Wirecast. When you go to stream, you just find us on there, and then we give you credentials. But that's
makes the setup a little easier.
Yeah, it makes the setup pretty easy. Another one that is a free live encoder, and it's actually what you would call open source software, and it's called Open Broadcaster. That's the name, Open Broadcaster. They've got a couple versions of this.
Yeah, so if you Google OBS project, you'll find Open Broadcaster. You can download it. One of the advantages of it is multi-platform available, so PC, Mac, and Linux. If you want to stream on your Linux computer, you can do that as well. It is not as mature as some of the other products, but it has several of the same features. You can take other inputs and switch things and do some transitions and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And it's free, and again, something to consider as another option for a live encoder. But you got to have a live encoder to be doing streaming video. So let's move on here a little bit. We'll take your questions in a moment or so. There's just a little example of somebody that has Wirecast actually on their laptop, and they've got 3 different cameras. Notice the 3 video capture devices in between the cameras and the computer. But this is like a little portable setup somebody uses. Just give you a little, gives you a little visual example here. Now, besides live encoders that are software based, and that's what we've been talking about so far, there are also live encoders that are hardware based live encoders. And here's one right now. It's a Teradek VIDIU. I guess it's
Video.
Video is how you'd say it. Teradek video, never mind. But it's a Teradek. Just remember the name Teradek. They make lots of different products. This is a live encoder. It's very small. It's hardware based. You don't need a computer to be able to stream if you use an encoder like this.
Yeah. So this is a unit that will mount right directly to your camera. Do we have? Oh, we do have a picture that shows you the scale of this. So it's you do some setup on it, and you basically it's going to connect either has a wired connection or wireless.
Right.
And so you can go through, and you could even roam with this thing mounted to your camera and stream directly from anywhere you're at.
So, I mean, it's an option if you don't want to use a computer for live streaming, this, a hardware-based encoder is certainly an option. And this one goes for about $700. There are a couple different brands out there, but this is one of them, Teradek. And then another live encoder that is hardware-based, and we've got some experience with these guys. This is what's called the TriCaster.
Yes, this is from New Tech. And these guys, one of the advantages is they've been around for a very long time, been doing this for probably longer than anybody. So this is a hardware box that's going to have a multitude of inputs on it, and it's going to do all the encoding. You'll hook up a monitor to this thing so you can do your video switching and all of that sort of thing. So a lot of the capabilities you would see in a Wirecast you're going to see here, but it's all contained in this one unit. So pros, it's been around a long time. It's going to be high quality. Cons, it's going to be on the expensive side.
Yeah, about what, $4,000?
For the entry-level box will be probably get in at $4,000, which has come down quite a bit.
Yeah.
Their entry-level box used to be around $8,000.
I remember, yeah, we had one for about $8,000. Then we had to spend another $1,000 on a computer to sit next to it to do lower thirds.
Yes,
right?
That's true.
And that was even awkward too. That wasn't even. Now they may have made some, hopefully, progress in that.
Yes.
But it wasn't the most user-friendly deal.
Right. So this, this is an option for you. We kind of favor some of the software-based encoder solutions, primarily because one of the things we actually had some experience with this with our TriCaster. We had a lightning strike at the church that impacted part of the TriCaster.
Yeah, it was like an audio module.
Yeah, it was an audio. Didn't knock it all out, but it messed up the audio, so we had to go a different route with the audio. And the problem was we could send it off to get fixed, but it would take a few weeks. And so we have services every weekend.
Right.
What were we going to do in the interim? So.
Yeah, and so, if you have a computer and it gets hit by lightning, you can always take, and you're using software-based live encoding, you can always download the live encoder on a different computer, and usually within a few minutes you can be up and streaming again. Whereas if a hardware box gets hit with something, many times you have to send it off, and as you just said, it results in a delay, and you're trying to figure out what to do next. But it's your choice and it's your budget, so that's an option. So very quickly, we're going to quickly wrap things up here, show you a few other things very quickly. We mentioned that if you had the Flash Media Live encoder, if you're going to use that, you could only do one camera. You couldn't be switching pictures or doing lower thirds. A digital video switcher would be the answer to that. And this one is one that's pretty popular. It's a roll-in. It's around $1,000. There are churches that use these kind of things. It's kind of how you pipe, you have multiple cameras, multiple inputs. You can use a video switcher and then feed it into your live encoder.
Right.
That's an option. Another thing we want to very quickly talk about is audio. What most people forget about is video is important and your quality of video is important, but even more so, I would say that your audio is very important, because you can have a really great video picture, but if your audio stinks, people aren't usually going to hang around very long. So audio is very important. And you might say, well, how do I do that? Well, most of the time you'll take a mixer from the back of your church, where everybody pretty much has an audio mixer in the back of your church, and you would get a signal out of that mixer from you got stuff on the stage, on the platform, from the pulpit, and it goes back to your audio mixer, and then you would send it out from your audio mixer into your video capture device, and then you can kind of set the level on your computer for the audio. Another option would be to send it to a small audio mixer, and you could kind of remix it, so to speak, for your internet, for your live streaming, which sometimes can make a difference, can really help.
Yes, because the sound on the internet's going to be, you're not going to have the benefit of the sanctuary, the worship room.
Right.
So the mix may be different on the web than it would be.
And you don't have to do it like that, but it's again, I just want to stress that audio is important. And the other thing you mentioned at the top of this webinar, Steve, lighting. If you're going to do streaming video, you've got to have lighting on your subject. Backlighting is also important, as well as what's on there. And today, today with technology now, lighting is much more reasonable, and you can do a lot more with it. And now you can use some of these LED lighting, and you don't have to, everybody doesn't have to boil up on the platform. The lights can create a lot of heat, but there's lots of different options out there with lighting. But lighting is important to have, and so you certainly might consider lighting. Now, another thing we want to say here, and that when it comes to streaming video, most people think, well, I want video. And that's good, and you want a video player so people can see it on your website or whatever. We would recommend that you get whatever you go with, that you have a streaming platform of some type that has chat and interactive features.
This is the last element, so camera, video adapter, encoder. Now you need a streaming provider.
Streaming provider. And with that streaming provider, we would encourage you to choose one that gives you that ability to be interactive with the people watching. And what you're seeing on the screen right now is a chat platform, actually one of our chat platforms. We have multiple kinds, and you can customize them and do all sorts of things with them. But you have the ability to chat with people. Yes. And we'd recommend that you have somebody that's a host.
Right. We really are advocates of having an experience that tries to rival an experience in person, so that you can get to know people and they can get to know you. And if you've got just video playing up there, you aren't going to have that benefit.
Yeah. So interactivity, social media is important. You can post a lot of these things and post a video to like social media platforms like Facebook or Twitter. And again, on this platform, you may see here, there's lots of options. You can see who's online. You can chat with people. You can see the pastor's notes. There's even a Bible that people can look at online. There's a map to see who's actually involved, who's watching. There's lots of different ways you can put links on the platform so people can give online, donate online. You can put links where people can maybe do prayer requests or look at the pastor's blog or look at other things on your website. So interactivity is very important today, especially for this generation. And we recommend that you get a platform that has that, whatever you decide to use. Now, obviously, we would encourage you to consider us, StreamingChurch.tv. You can make a free trial, 30-day free trial. We have a special webinar offer, and that is if after 30 days of free trial, if you like us, and why wouldn't you like us, right? I mean, we really do have probably the best customer service, and I'm bragging on us here, but we really go out of help people, help churches. Our vision is to help churches.
Right. That's our ministry, is to help churches. And so we're here to walk you through every step of the way. And as you run into hurdles, then we're here to help you. We're online with you all day as well. You can chat with us or call us or whatever.
Weekends, the whole bit. I mean, our vision, it really is to help churches use technology. And we have a heart for churches. We have a heart for ministry because we're in it. We are involved in our own churches. And so if you want to try StreamingChurch.tv, just go to our website, StreamingChurch.tv, make a free trial. We'll help you every step of the way. And if you activate after 30 days, we'll give you 50% off the first month of activation. So we hope that you'll do that. Now, if you have questions, you can email us, support@StreamingChurch.tv. Or if you have questions right now, you could certainly
type them into the chat, and we'll take your questions and
handle that. So we have lots of products. We actually have a mobile app, a free mobile app that comes along with streaming. We have church management tools. We have lots of things that we offer churches and ministries, and it's a great deal. So we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. Right. But again, you can always contact us at support@StreamingChurch.tv. If you have questions about anything, we would be happy to help you. His name is Steve Lacy. I'm Phil Thompson. Thanks again for spending a little bit of time with us online here for the Streaming 101 webinar. We hope that you have a great day.